Good morning. Today I am putting together a do-it-yourself hitch cargo box. So what I'm doing is I'm taking an old bike slide-in bike holder or bike cargo tray that was given to me, and I'm putting on this box from Home Depot, and then I will be using it to store more gear. One reason I'm doing it is I want to take some of the weight from up on top from the Yakima box up on top and put it down a little lower, so I'm not as top heavy. But also just I may eventually get rid of that box on the roof and just store gear back here. One reason also was because I was going to just use this tray, slide-in hitch tray, to carry the generator over there, but I really didn't like the idea of it being exposed, so I wanted to put it in a box. I found this box at Home Depot. It was the largest they had as far as depth. It had to be at least 19 inches to fit the generator in there, which this one was, I think, 21 or 22 inches, so it was just tall enough to hold the generator. And then there's a lot of room for extra gear that I'm going to put in there as well. The box, I think, is right around maybe 4 feet. The tray, or the bike carrier, was about 5 feet from one end to the other. And it was just wide enough, 19 inches wide, I believe, for that to fit in as well. Now, I originally was just going to set it in there and then strap it down, but somebody mentioned to me that, you know, it'd be easy for somebody to just cut the straps and carry off the box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these bike wheel holders off from this end, and there's 4 bolts holding it on. I'm going to use those 4 bolts to bolt the box down to the tray. Probably just get some really big washers to help hold the box, and then maybe seal it up with some silicone around the bolts and everything to keep water from coming in from underneath. And that way it'll make it more difficult for anybody to try to steal the box with everything inside of it. And so I'm going to get started. I'm going to take these off first. One thing I did have to do is get a hitch extender for this tray to slide in. It wouldn't reach all the way into where it's mounted underneath, so I had to get a hitch extender. Got that from Harbor Freight to pull it out. And the nice thing about it now is with that hitch extender in there, I can actually still open the door when the box is sitting on top here. So that makes it a little more convenient. And anyway, I'll get busy, show you a little bit along the way, and then the finished product. So the plan was to use the bolts from the cargo rack or bike carrier. But they're carriage bolts, and they'd be really hard to tighten down because you usually have to have something that this sits into, the square part of it, to tighten it down. So it would be pretty difficult for me to use these. Luckily, in my box of bolts and nuts and all sorts of items there, I managed to find 4 bolts that I can use, and a lot of different washers, and these should hold that container down pretty well, I think. And I'll seal them up again like I said before, but I think this will probably work as far as holding the box onto the carrier here. I did put a quick coat of paint on here and try to stop some of the rust that was happening, and just make it look a little better. So next thing I'm going to do is set the box on top of it. I'm not sure if I'll center it or if I'll put it off to one side and leave an open area on one on the other end. I could put, you know, fuel containers or water, or even another smaller storage box. But let me experiment and see which I like best. You can see that if I put it off to one side, I end up with quite a bit of space over here on this side still to carry other items. And so I'm debating that, or if I just center it, that would still give me room on both sides to attach maybe a jerry can or a couple jerry cans or other items. Not quite sure yet which one I'll go with. I tend to like the idea of putting it all on one side because that makes opening the door here a little easier. To just clears this corner right here, and then I can just put something smaller here. Whatever I put in the heaviest item, which will probably be that generator for now, I'll put it here on this end of the box so it's still centered on the hitch or the cargo carrier, and then put some lighter items on that side. So that's probably what I'll do right for now, is just put it off here, even though I'm the kind of person that kind of likes everything centered, and but we'll see. I'll think about it for a few minutes before I actually bolt down. I'm going to put 4 bolts inside, attaching it to help secure it. So I'll let you know. I'll show you what it looks like when I decide. Alright, this storage box is bolted down in all 4 corners. Put a lot of silicone around it and underneath the washers to help seal up, keep water from coming up from underneath. And underneath it, let's see if I can get under here, I use these clips that clip onto the grating or this metal part, the underneath on the cargo base. They clip on, and then the screws just screw right into them. I think that'll hold pretty well. Did that on all 4 corners. And this is all just hardware from previous projects, that leftovers. So one thing that I did do, I was talking about earlier, is I centered it as best as I could on the cargo area. So there is room on this side, and there's a little room on this side. I could still put jerry cans or fuel cans or water on each side if I want. But the reason I decided to end up going with the centering the box on the cargo carrier is because at the height of it, I didn't want, if I put it on one end or the other, it would partially block the tail lights on the vehicle. So if it's centered, the tail lights are still fully viewable from behind the vehicle. So that was kind of my primary reason, just to, and I guess it does look a little better, I think. I kind of like things that are symmetric and, you know, centered and balanced, and so I think that's going to work out pretty well. Next up is to load it up and kind of clean up and show you the end result. Alright, so I've put the generator in here, and on all the corners where the bolts coming through, I just put a little bit of foam and then I'll put stuff on top of that just to keep the bolts from rubbing into whatever I put in here, and it'll insulate it, I guess, a little bit better. But you can see the generators in here. I also put a little bit of foam on this side of it where it's closest to the side here of the container, just to keep it from sliding around and maybe bumping into, you know, when I drive. Haven't really figured out any way to fasten it down inside the container here unless I, you know, screw more things in here, and I really don't want to do that. So what I'll do is I'll just pack it really well around it to keep it from tipping over or sliding around. And so here's what it looks like loaded down. I could put a few more things in here, I suppose. There's room all around it. But this is just stuff that I don't use very often. You know, it's just nice to put it away. I don't have to access it, but if I do, I can get to it pretty easily. Once I sell this generator, I'll have a lot more room, and I could probably then put most everything that's in the Yakima box up on the roof in here, and maybe even take the Yakima box off, make the vehicle a little more aerodynamic. So I'm gonna put the lid on and show you what it looks like when it's all ready to go. Alright, here's the final product. You can see that I've got it strapped down with a couple straps just to add a little more safety, security, stability. Even though it's bolted down with the 4 bolts, this will help keep it from moving or, you know, slowly vibrating around even, and just help it to stay attached better. You can see that I drilled some holes and put padlocks on front 2 corners. I also have got a cable running through the platform or the cargo carrier, through the lid, and again it's wrapped into the cargo carrier pretty well, and then into this top hitch where it's locked in here. I did have to get a stabilizer right here. I've got one on the front of the extension as well, just because there's a lot of play in between this part that slides in and then there. So these stabilizers help keep it from, you know, moving around a lot, shaking around. Everything's locked so that it make it a little more challenge for anybody trying to steal anything. But that's it for now. I don't know if I'll stay with this. The main reason I chose this one was because of the height. I can fit the generator in there. Without the generator, I could go with something a little more lower, maybe even something maybe out of aluminum or something that would be a little more rugged than this stuff. But I think this will do for now. It did rain a couple days ago, and I had the lid on and no water got inside, so it does seal it up pretty well, and these straps pull the lid down pretty tight. So that's it. I try to, like most everything I do, I try to make it look clean and kind of, you know, not so shabby, or you know, I try to make it look good. That's why I painted the cargo carrier. I may get some reflective tape that goes on here, maybe a red that'll or even just the red and white stripes like I've got on the back door, just to give it a little more visibility. So that is it. Like do-it-yourself DIY cargo carrier on the back here, and pretty happy with it so far. We'll see how it does when I drive back up north, out on the highway and everything, but so far I'm liking it.